Hello Internet, and welcome to Ramblings of a Madman. I'm Alex, and I'm joined by Sean and Stuart for a shallow and probably uninformed dive into unexplained mysteries, conspiracy theories, and the supernatural. How are you doing, Sean?
Great, thanks.
And Stuart?
Yeah, really well, thanks, buddy.
Good. We're all here. We've arrived.
We've made it.
This shambles of a show.
The rambles. The rambles of a show.
The shambles of a rambles.
Oh, nice.
Nice new episode name there. That's what I'm going to call this episode. The shambles of a rambles.
Okay. Rambling
Just so you know.
How about
okay.
we wrap this up?
That would be.
No, this is going good. Let's power through, okay?
Okay.
Right, so for episode 2, I thought I'd cover a story which I heard quite recently, actually, maybe 6 months ago on a different podcast. It's kind of concerned with alternate dimensions, I guess. And it's fairly simple. It's on this website, which I don't know how long ago the website is, but it looks pretty old. And it's literally a page with a picture and a story and then some evidence for the story.
Sounds spooky.
It is pretty spooky.
Microsoft front page.
Wait, what?
Like, it just sounds like it's going to be made really cheaply.
I mean, it's an okay website. It does the job.
Okay.
Better than what I could make, considering I have no idea how to make a website. So I guess I'll just sort of read through the story, and then you can jump in whenever.
Can we know the name of the story?
You cannot, because it spoils it.
Okay.
Okay, spoiler alert.
And I also want to say to you and to the people listening not to look it up while I'm telling it, because it definitely ruins it for you.
Okay.
Unless you're kind of the person who wants to spoil something for yourself.
Or wants to read along
probably
as we talk about it.
Maybe. But again, the title and also the first couple paragraphs, which I'm going to skip, also spoil it.
Okay.
The following is an actual account of my experiences as of recently. Because of the nature of what has happened, I must remain anonymous until I feel it is safe to reveal my real name. But for now, you can refer to me as James Richards. I live in Livermore, California, but on September 9th, I was driving home from Turlock after visiting a friend for a few days. I had my dog with me, and I didn't have any plans for the day, so I decided to take a drive through a place called Del Puerto Canyon, just west of Turlock. There's a scenic road that has a fun drive and actually goes through to Livermore. I hadn't taken the cruise through it for a while, so I thought I would take this way home. It was about 2 p.m. A ways into the canyon, my dog started actually needing to use the restroom, so I pulled over to the first available parking area to decide. What?
My dog needed to use the restroom.
Yep, it's a very clever dog.
No, I'm calling
already
bullshit.
out.
Carry on.
Carry on. Look, I promise you it gets really good.
Okay.
So I pulled over the first available parking area to the side of the road and let her out while I stretched. At first I didn't notice, but I heard the barking from 30 yards away. My dog was chasing a rabbit. Now, my dog is a pretty good dog, but if she's chasing something, then there is no stopping her, so the only thing I could do was become part of the chase. So I don't know how exactly he knows it's a rabbit, but whatever. It's kind of irrelevant.
Fenton.
Fenton. This was the start of that famous YouTube clip. Fenton.
Jesus Christ, Fenton!
This is the conspiracy theory of Fenton.
So basically, he's got a dog. He doesn't have to go into great detail about how the dog runs off, because dogs do that.
Yeah, he's now chasing the dog. They had already had a 40-yard head start, so I had to buck it. The uneven ground and soft dirt patches made it difficult to run, and it wasn't very far into the chase that I had stepped in a rabbit hole, fell, and knocked myself unconscious.
That's unfortunate.
It is. Again, I don't know how he knows it's a rabbit hole, but I'm nitpicking here. When I woke up, it's a metaphor.
The Matrix. Let's see how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
You can't just say deep things and make them sound like they're relevant to the story. You realise that, right? So he's knocked himself unconscious. When I woke up, I was in a room with some furniture and electronics in it. I was taken care of with a bandage on my head, but I still felt uneasy about the situation because where I fell and hit my head was a very rural, unpopulated area with no houses, and outside the window of the room, all I could hear is traffic. I wasn't near the window in the room. It was actually on the other side, next to an unusual-looking electronic machine that I didn't recognise from anywhere I'd seen before. The only reason this stood out was because it seemed out of place in the person's home, which most of the room resembled. I decided to get up and look out of the window, but the door opened and in ran my dog, who was pretty excited to see me. When I looked up, there was a man standing at the door. He was about 6 foot tall, had medium long black hair, and was dressed casually nice, but gave me a greasy vibe, in quotation marks, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Slimy.
We all know a greasy person.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
So I thanked him for helping me and my dog out, and I was surprised. My dog even came back to me. I then asked him the question that would make me start wondering if I had in fact gone crazy. I asked him, "Where am I?
Who am I?
Who am I?" with Jackie Chan. "About 20 feet away from where I found you," he replied. I told him that couldn't be possible, because there were no houses within at least 20 miles from where I last remember being. He then told me that what he was going to say next would be very shocking and unbelievable, and that if he didn't actually experience it himself, then he wouldn't believe it. He took a look at the machine near the window and looked back at me, and said he transported me to a parallel Earth. He said he travelled to our Earth dimension and found me knocked out in the blazing heat with nobody around to help me out. Normally, he said, he doesn't take outsiders through a portal, but in my case, he thought I needed urgent help. Right, so this is getting pretty unbelievable at this point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It sounds very much like the plot of a video game.
Yeah.
Like this would be the intro, and they just throw you into it, and now you have to kill the guy and escape from his house because he's like a greasy, creepy guy, and
A greasy goose.
And he's going to kill your dog.
he wants to kill your dog and imprison you in the basement, and
Yeah.
then like
Hang on,
experiment
so
on you.
you've read it out in your own words, in your own...
I'm
Right,
reading this word
intonations.
by word. This isn't
So,
this isn't
yeah,
my,
but
my
Are you, when you first read it, are you getting the vibe that he is, like, despicable or...
No, I'm
like a
making
threat?
jokes here.
Okay,
Doesn't seem like a
okay.
threat at all. He seems like a guy who helped a stranger out and then brought him back to his world.
Unless he's already in the parallel universe and he's actually just come back to our universe.
Ah, the twist.
There we go.
So he's explained this to the guy, and he immediately started asking questions about traveling to parallel worlds, since all I knew about the topic was YouTube videos of Michio Kaku, which I don't know what that is.
Don't
Michio
know about it
Kaku.
either.
Maybe it's like a science channel. He told me to slow down and that he'd explain himself. Apparently, in his world, a parallel travel machine can be purchased quite easily. While not cheap, it's pretty popular, even though the machine can be dangerous enough to cause death. In the 1950s of this dimension, the government was faced with the decision to continue to fund the space program. I'm guessing NASA or a parallel dimension program called ARP-D.
ARP.
I can't remember what he said it stood for, but I'm pretty sure the PD is parallel dimensions. And I remember the acronym because I noticed it on a lot of the electronics in the room I was in. He then explained that the real danger of using one of these machines was exploring new dimensions. Since there are an infinite amount of Earths in other dimensions, only a small amount have been explored. The problem with exploring unknown dimensions is the chance you will die somehow once you walk through the portal doorway. So, like, you instantly just die when you, like, there's no oxygen, or you, like,
Or you're underground.
you're
or something.
underground, or you're stuck in a wall, like Gary's mod,
Or you, yeah.
and then you're forced to kill yourself by
No clip.
holding a grenade out until it explodes and kills you. But you probably won't have a grenade because people don't carry grenades around with them. I mean,
Don't they?
I don't. I mean, do you?
Not in this universe.
Aha! See, now
Ah.
you're
see?
thinking with Pauls. So he told me that people die from falling if the ground isn't close enough to where the portal opens. They die from drowning, as there are worlds covered in water. It's hard to reopen a portal underwater, apparently. They die from fire, atmospheric issues. He said in order for people to avoid this, they would have to know that there would be similar ground in the dimension they were travelling to. So his government began to research worlds that were safe to transport to, even creating public
Unless they die from
spots.
freeze.
What was that?
Unless they die from freeze.
Yes, they might
Okay.
die from freeze.
That's a throwback if anyone... I'll be very, very surprised if anyone knows.
It's a niche reference, but it checks out.
Very niche, yeah.
Stereotype, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah, I've got no idea.
Exactly, it's
I'm
niche.
sure we'll probably post it on the Twitter or something.
For sure. So his government began to research worlds that were safe to transport to, even creating public spots where people could choose a menu of worlds to go to that were all safe. So these are like holiday destinations, I guess,
Yeah.
that you go to with your parallel dimension machine. Many of these worlds were lush vegetation worlds that were never ruined by man, only to be invaded by the large overcrowded population of the Traveller's world. He said something about new industries that popped up because of this, one of them being something like dimensional life brokers. These people offered the chance to live as someone new in an already established similar world that doesn't know of dimensional travel. Nor that there are people crossing the dimensional border too, which is kind of interesting. That's a great sci-fi plot right there.
Yeah, definitely. Like I'm quite, like we said in the last episode, I'm quite speculative, but it doesn't feel right at all. This, but again, it's really interesting. The guy's obviously a really good writer. Or continue. So it could be legit, right?
Jonas said he was an explorer for one of the dimensional travel agencies and was looking in new uncharted dimensions and came up by Earth. We talked about a lot of things. It was interesting to see what similarities and differences we had between our worlds. Food, culture, TV, technology, we covered a lot. And also started talking about music, which was an interesting topic because there are many of the same bands between our worlds that existed, including the Beatles. When their name got brought up, Jonas mentioned that his brother just got back from seeing them perform at a concert recently, which I gave a weird look to and said, "You mean they're still together?" And he said, "Yeah." I then told him about how they broke up in our world and that John and George passed away. Apparently in his world, they're all alive, healthy, and on tour still.
They're like the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
I wonder if they look as dead. Like, as zombie-like as the Rolling Stones do.
I imagine their healthcare's better, so they could probably keep people alive longer.
Or they've just been swapped with Madman to swords.
They're androids. They're all Cybermen, but with really cool haircuts.
Says the one who has a Beatles haircut. Oh, you know, he used to.
Wait, what? You never told me I had stupid hair.
I never said it was stupid. I said Beatles.
Fine.
Make of that what you will, Alex.
Make of that what you will.
I will. I'm already silently judging you. Jonathan had me follow into another room that had a bookshelf-looking thing with some cassette tapes. Yes, the music ones. Apparently CDs never caught on in his world. And a tape player / radio / record player. Though it didn't quite look like the type of radios we have. The speakers looked more like crinkled cardboard, but sounded pretty good. I didn't get too good of a look at the speakers, but they certainly went round. They almost looked like a tall accordion. It's kind of weird that he fixates on the speakers. Goes into detail. It sounds like he's reaching for evidence.
Yeah, this is going somewhere, right?
It is. It's definitely going somewhere.
Okay.
The only Beatles album he had that was store-bought and had real cover art was Sgt. Pepper's, which the cover looked slightly different than the one we have, but the songs were all the same. The other 6 Beatles tapes he had were all like somebody recorded them onto a blank cassette for him and wrote the song titles on the card slipped in the case. So like they were recording their own tapes like you used to do.
Yeah.
I recognised, but there were about 4 of them that I had never heard of before. He played a few songs from one of them, which was totally surreal to hear Beatles music that was never made, at least in our world. We talked about it a little bit. He said the girl made the tapes for him while he was in upper school, which is what they call high school. She was a huge fan of them and wanted him to listen to them.
Okay.
He popped out the first tape and was putting in the second one when I told him he should record me a copy of one so I could take it back with me thinking it wouldn't be a big deal. Well, the look Jonas gave me when I said this is part of the reason I'm remaining anonymous. Not only did it sort of scare me, but it had a very serious, almost creepy look to it, followed by the phrase, not word for word, I can't remember exactly what he said. No, you are not taking anything with you back to your world. No pictures, no souvenirs, no tapes, nothing. I asked him why, and he really wouldn't say it, except for that for my safety, I wasn't taking anything back. Yeah, it's convenient, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm not the type of person to go through all of this parallel world stuff and not grab something to prove the outrageous story of my experience. So, for the moment, I told him I wouldn't take anything and change the subject. After an hour later, after some more talking, I heard a doorbell ring and he left the room to check the door. I knew that I may or not have had another chance to take something, so I grabbed one of the tapes and put it in my pocket, and then shuffled the tapes around to make it look less obvious that something was missing. When he came back inside, I said I was kind of hungry. Just to get us out of the room, I mixed tapes up a little so it was hard to tell one was missing, but I didn't want to be there when he found out. So he then took me in the other room and fed me. For the most part, the food tasted like ours, but with different product names and colours. The purple ketchup was the strangest. Didn't they have purple ketchup?
We had green ketchup.
Green ketchup, yeah. That's
green ketchup we had, yeah.
We talked a little more, and then I expressed the notion that I should be going because it was getting late. The time of the day was identical to ours, as is all worlds. Yeah, because it's not time travel, right? It's parallel dimension.
Yeah, it's just parallel dimension travel, isn't it?
The time
side by side rather than
the time. There's no time dilation. This isn't interstellar.
Well, as far as we know, we're not quantum scientists, quantum physics scientists.
I might be. You don't know.
You could be. You're not.
I'm not. No, just for the people out there. I went back in the room with the machines in it. I grabbed my dog and shook Jonas's hand for taking care of me after I'd knocked out. I thanked him again and stepped through the portal, which felt like getting wet but staying dry the entire time. Really weird. When I put my dog on the ground, she even shook herself like she thought she was wet. Back in our world, I could see my car on the road still, and there was a straight line burn mark on the ground where the portal had shown up. Okay, so this is Back to the Future.
It's Back to the Future, isn't it, with the DeLorean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The twist is this is actually just the original script for Back to the Future. It was dark outside, and the only reason I noticed the burn was because it was still smoking from the heat. I walked back to my car, didn't run this time, and drove home. The worst part was I couldn't even listen to the tape on the way home because I didn't have the tape player in my car. I actually wasn't even able to listen to it at home either for the same reason. I had to go back to Walmart to buy a tape player just to listen to it. Unfortunately, I don't have any information about the tape other than what was written on the card sleeve. The track names were written as well as the album title, Everyday Chemistry. Everything out it is as mysterious to you as it is to me. It also wasn't like I could have asked the guy anything about it, especially after taking it home. I'll post some more about my experience in the coming days, but I have to go to work right now and this post is already long enough. If anyone has any questions they want to ask me about this incident, and I've set up an email address that you can contact me at, I'll try and answer everyone's questions as best as possible. Lastly, if there is anyone out there that has experienced anything like this, then please contact me. Some of the things this guy said to me almost make me wonder if this isn't the first dimensional travellers have been here. James Richards. So that's the story. What I'll do now is send you the link to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just before you do, meth is one hell of a drug, right?
But
I don't know.
So there's the link in chat if you want to go to it. What's really interesting is that all the songs have been put on this website that he took from this parallel universe Beatles
What, as in
album.
to be able to play them?
You can play them right now.
Do they actually sound like... Have you listened to them?
I've listened to a couple of
You
them.
can download the entire
Do they
album.
sound like the Beatles? Does it sound like it could be them?
It does. It's very convincing.
Beatles never broke up.
The Beatles never broke up. That's the name of the story. Again, it would spoil it if I...
So you've read all this page, basically.
I read the whole page, yeah. On the side, it says the album, Everyday Chemistry. There's 11 tracks, and all of them sound like the Beatles to me. And it's very strange.
I'm just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round. I really love to watch them roll. I'm just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round. I really love to watch them roll.
Okay, so first of all, the first song, it doesn't sound right. I think it's called 4 Days, yeah. 4 Guys, sorry, right? Doesn't sound right. Like, it just sounds like he's done it on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously someone's made this song. Let's say...
Yeah, obviously, the Beatles made it in a parallel dimension.
Yeah.
Someone had to make
So
it.
what I'm saying is, why would they put quite an unsettling clip at the start of that song? The first 20 seconds... I think it's 2 or 3 different voices, but one of them is like a woman in distress.
Well, what did it do to you? You seem to be in a...
They were just like 4 boys. They really liked it. They were good. They were great guys. It didn't really hit me. And then these two just standing there singing, and I don't know what they do. They just change you. They're not what they used to be. They're just so much better. And then you say what's nice. They're just like a myth for you is what they seem like. Every little movement's for you and no one else. It seems so personal, but yeah, it's just for everybody.
We were four guys that I met Paul and said, do you want to join the band? Well, and then George joined, and then Ringo joined. We were just a band who made it very, very big.
Well, have you listened to Marilyn Manson? Some of
Yeah,
his
there's
songs
not-
at the start of them have weird, like creepy children talking and stuff like that.
Yeah, did the Beatles?
I mean, they didn't.
this,
They
you know.
didn't in when they were around in our world, but this is
True.
music they made in 2015.
That's true.
True.
Like listen
And
to
it does have like a, yeah.
the most recent Paramore album. How different they are to their older stuff.
Yeah, that's
It's a
true.
completely different genre.
Yeah,
Yeah, the premise is the same.
true.
But
All right.
what I'll say for sure is that I believe that George, Paul, and Ringo, and the other guy are all in those John are all in those recordings. That's what I believe.
Yeah, definitely. Like there's a bit at the start after the mix of voices and stuff where I can't remember who is talking, but it's one of them, and he's just literally talking. That could have been taken from an interview from this universe
It could have been.
quite easily. So, all right, I'm going to keep listening.
Thoughts, Stu?
It's interesting. It's interesting to think about this sort of thing because artists create obviously an excess of songs that get trimmed down to produce an album. So, is this the kind of the because Michael Jackson released a song, didn't he? Posthumously,
Yeah.
using sampling of songs that never made his albums, and you could argue that this is the same. It's songs taken from maybe songs taken from the traditional B-side of a single or a record that have just been turned into like an album's worth of songs now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, the in this song, Band on the Run, that is actually a song.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's pitch shifted it, but
was it a song in their dimension?
yeah. Let's go on that premise. The general theme I'm getting is that it's, I don't know. What I was going to argue was that it feels like it's been edited. It feels like it's been sampled. It feels like all this, but it's not really an argument because it would have been. If that makes sense, like it would have been mastered, would have been professionally edited. And to be honest, that first song, Four Guys, it didn't sound awful.
Pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
Pretty good.
It didn't sound amazing, but obviously music's completely subjective anyway. But
yeah,
I don't know what to say in that respect.
It's cool though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
the thing is, moving aside from the tape, so the rest of the story has some pretty weird aspects of it.
It does, but it kind of sounds like someone who hasn't written much trying to recount a story.
Yeah, it's almost like a diary entry.
Yeah,
that's like writing exactly how it's being thought, rather than it being
like professionally telling a story.
Professionally typed. Yeah,
yeah.
It's literally it's like basically a written version of having verbal diarrhea when you're trying to talk about an event and you're either really excited or you've got a lot of emotion behind it. And you're telling the story, and the words and the grammar and things like that just go out the window, and it doesn't quite make sense in patches.
Yeah.
The start is a bit interesting in that he is in the middle of nowhere, kind of gets out of his car. The dog's unhappy because it's found what he presumes is a rabbit. Kind of, was it a rabbit? Was it something else? Is it some sort of, maybe dogs can sense between parallel dimensions? Maybe dogs aren't confined to this dimension. Maybe they're actually able to move through space, but who knows? Or maybe rabbits can move through space, and that's why the dog was really confused. But the whole falling over, banging your head, waking up, and being somewhere else. At first, I thought you were describing Carrie by Stephen King, where the guy is in the skiing accident, and he wakes up being cared for by somebody. And it kind of, there were lots of bits where it sounds like it's lots of different themes of stories.
Yeah, it's very tropey, isn't it? The trope of being knocked out in a minor accident and waking up somewhere
Traveling
else.
by yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
waking up somewhere else, being saved while you're unconscious by a stranger. But I really like the story, and I know I said I was pretty skeptical in the first episode, but this is one that I want to believe is true, just because it's got the people who write your stories usually don't put evidence with it, and even if it's fake, there's a lot of effort being put into this album.
Yeah, but the argument though, what happens if it's a massive advertising campaign though? It's a fantastic way of advertising an album to make revenue.
He's not selling it though.
No, but how do you know that the album itself isn't making revenue off whatever platform it's based off, whether it's on YouTube and somebody who's posting it?
It was originally on this website, which you can download the zip file from, and I assume people have posted it onto YouTube afterwards from that zip file.
That's a fair point. Maybe the source is going to be the key to it.
But I'm very much trying to devil's advocate.
Yeah, no, of course.
My side of the story.
Yeah.
Because you two don't seem very convinced.
No, there's big parts of it that just seem to have holes in it. So the fact that it's a parallel universe, but time is existing the same, but the sort of the individual worlds themselves are differed by certain events that happen, and it all seems the parallel universe seems to stem from maybe the 50s when the government decided to go through inter sort of universe travel rather than exploring space. That's what you said. Was that right?
Yeah.
So it's whether or not some event happened then. That means although time is running on the same course, the worlds have become very different for those events.
Mm-hmm. Maybe JFK wasn't the president, wasn't elected president, because he was very much the forerunner of the space race, right?
Yeah.
Before he got assassinated. So that might be a reason.
63 or whatever. So maybe
I imagine there's a load of different tiny reasons that would change a universe from one to another. That would separate them rather than one big event. Because again, CDs had been invented, and the way he described the house, they had all these weird electronics in it. He mentioned that he could tell it was a house, but it kind of didn't look like a house as well. So I imagine it kind of looked like a lab, maybe. But it's very Fallout, isn't it? You know the Fallout games where
Well,
where
the
universe is slightly different.
Yeah, the way he's describing it is literally that it's just the perfect description of somewhere that's just familiar but not where if years and years and years ago in that universe, when certain things would have been, fashion and stuff like that. You might have literally just walked into what felt like a house. You're saying it was a lab and stuff, but when it comes to the actual instrument or whatever for doing the parallel universe thing, you made it sound like that's quite a common thing. I think he does actually say that it's quite expensive, but
he said they're easy to get hold of, but quite expensive.
Yeah, so
like a 3D printer, I guess nowadays.
Yeah, that's probably a good way of putting it.
You can just buy one online, but it's a lot of money.
So expensive, yeah. It's just well-known technology and VR, I guess.
VR, yeah.
So the like you said, the way he's described it, I think is quite. Even if it's not true, it's actually. I like the way he's written it.
Yeah.
That's not.
Yeah, it keeps you going. Huh? What's happening?
Yeah, it's obviously written well to keep you engaged. In terms of speculating about it, I almost want it to be true.
Yeah, that's where I am. It's so cool. I want it to be true, but it's like paranormal stuff where you can't really disprove it.
Yeah,
no.
Because it's a recount of a supposedly true story, so there's nothing to disprove it because he can make up any stuff about the parallel dimension and say
how would
true.
you prove this?
Exactly, but you can't disprove it either. Well, you prove it by showing this CD.
The tape.
The tape, yeah.
But tapes exist in this world.
Yeah, but this Beatles album doesn't until he put it up.
Well, no, but it's I've got a big smile on my face. It's, I get it. And I know, obviously, devil's advocate and stuff. You're being devil's advocate. Again, I want it to be true. But the album could easily have just been made.
Yeah.
Not easily. A lot of effort has been put into it. I've got the songs in the background at the moment, and they are quite high quality. They don't seem to have been done in just a few seconds, just, a couple of samples and stuck everything together. There's actually quite a bit of sampling going on, but there's also really good, instrumental parts, and he's actually put some thought into it. My problem is with it is that he sounds like he's sampled stuff and put the stereotypical modern or like the 80s version of the space age kind of sounds into it.
I see
if that makes sense. That's my only gripe with it, but the songs actually are quite listenable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's definitely possible that there's probably enough extraneous recording of the Beatles to put together
that's what
something
I
like
think
this.
It is.
Because they might be all recording footage or unreleased EPs or interviews or just random little songs they made themselves but never released.
Yeah, because you think there are bands who you can go and see live who will play a song that they go, we wrote this song, but it never made our album, but we're going to play it. And it's the fact that it was it's the kind of music that they would make when they first got together and they were trying to work out a style of music that they enjoyed playing. And they make a song and they like the lyrics behind it. And it's maybe not good enough, or it doesn't fit the style that the band want to play music of, but every now and again they'll play it because they enjoy playing it. And it sounds like it could be a collection of songs like that.
I think I want to go back to what I said before as well, that I kind of want it to be true. The whole idea and the wonder of it is the whole reason that a lot of these similar fictional texts and stuff, and the films and the books and the games and stuff that are based on this, it's a really nice, interesting thing to want to be real.
Yeah, like cool ideas.
If that makes sense.
Especially that thing with the like taking a convict who wants to escape from the law and taking them to another dimension to like giving them a new identity.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Netflix could make a show about that.
Yeah,
100%.
Even if this isn't true, which obviously I'm leaning towards it's not, but even if it isn't, it's still, they could make this into, if they haven't already, make this into a book or something. Because obviously, yes, okay, there's definitely similar stuff. This isn't the first time we've heard a story or a film or whatever or a game about interdimensional travel. Let's be honest, but I still think I'm just flicking through it. Like, I like the way that he said it was store-bought. The only Beatles album that he had was store-bought and had real cover art was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. He doesn't say it specifically that, but obviously that's going to be the album. It's quite an iconic album cover, isn't it?
The really interesting thing, though, about this story is that if this was a story that somebody said to you, you would never believe it.
No.
But because there's the album, you want to believe it because you're like, well, how else does the album come about? Where else have they got the songs from? It's that second of doubt, isn't it? About where the album comes from, or sorry, where the tracks come from, that makes you go, well, this sounds really far-fetched, but yet you can't prove that the singles haven't come from somewhere else.
Yeah,
that makes it
this
so
is what
brilliant.
I was saying before. It's something that you can't prove and can't disprove at the same time.
Well, one thing I am quite skeptical of is if they haven't managed to make, CDs, compact discs, or DVDs, or Blu-rays, or anything like that. Why did they stop at tapes? Why didn't they stop at vinyls, for example? And also, how is he able to? I guess he's put the tape into a recorder, recorded everything else, but to get that kind of audio quality, I know I'm going quite technical, but I don't know if there's a way to make that kind of audio quality from a tape to an MP3 or whatever. It's quite good quality, and it sounds digital. It sounds like someone has actually edited it and put in a mastered version of stuff. with vinyls and tapes and stuff, from my experience that I can think of, especially vinyls, obviously, but this is a tape, you do get a kind of, like when you put a video, a VHS, if everyone's...
Yeah, we know what VHSs are.
Yeah, you guys do. Our viewers might be younger.
People know what
that whole-
VHSs are.
Surely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, you know what I mean. So I'm thinking more, when you put a VHS in, and there's always kind of like that crackle in the background because it's obviously reading a physical thing. And I know that's what CDs and stuff are for. Don't get me wrong.
The thing is, though, have you ever heard there was a story in America recently about a traffic light camera that was watching a junction. It was like a crossroads junction.
Mhm.
And a lorry drove through the junction. And on the tape, you could see somebody walking in the middle of the road, and the lorry goes through them, and the person basically goes through the lorry. And the idea being behind that the same film reel has been recorded so many times that there's like ghosting.
Mm-hmm.
So a previous recording of somebody crossing the road, that tiny bit of the film has retained the picture previously.
Yeah.
And you get the same.
Yeah.
You used to get the same things on tapes, where if you recorded enough times on a tape, or you tried to record over something, that you could get that sort. What I think you're describing. I don't know if I might be wrong there, but
Well, no, I mean, that's not what I'm going for, but that's still really interesting.
oh, okay.
He's trying to say, like, transferring it from a tape to a digital form, you lose a lot of audio quality.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily because you can get vinyls that just sound incredible, and most of them do because they're usually just raw recordings. But when it comes to that sort of stuff, there's usually the physical scratching of the vinyl, or like on the tape recorders. It's hard to explain. It really is. When you listen to a lot of digital stuff, or like you listen to something straight off a CD, the quality is almost perfect. There's no imperfections in the playback of it, not necessarily the recording. So that, when I listen to it, it doesn't sound like a tape recording, if that makes any sense.
But again, what Stuart mentioned before is that time travels at the same rate, apparently, in both of these worlds, right?
Yeah.
So this is a world where CDs were never invented and they still use tapes. So tapes,
but they would have tried to increase the quality.
Yeah, tapes in 2012, wherever time this was, might be actually really good.
So if that's true, why hasn't he shown the quality of the tape?
Because he put it on the internet, and you can't put a tape on the internet.
No, but you can take pictures of the reel and the stuff it's made out of, because surely the film that is on the ones from our universe is going to be of lesser quality than one that's had an extra 50 years or whatever.
I mean, you wouldn't really want to pull the tape out of it because you might ruin it.
Yeah, but he's already transferred it. It's fine.
But this is cool evidence that you don't want to delete.
Yeah, true, but surely.
Although this photo of the tape does look very old. It's a General Electric tape.
Yeah.
And it's grey, and it says 60 on it. I don't know if that's 1960.
Maybe.
So it might be, 58 years old, if it was nowadays.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so one of my things I've got going on in my head is he's asked for people to send stuff back, and has anything else come of this? Because you said...
No, this is the only post on the website. He does have an email address, but I imagine that he wouldn't get back to you. He probably doesn't even look at it.
Okay, so if he was that urgent...
But he's scared for his life.
Is he?
He said many times that he went by a fake name in the story because he was scared that this greasy guy was going to come get him.
I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. He said that he was in that much of a rush. Well, so he didn't say that he's in that much of a rush, but he was obviously in that much of a rush that he wanted to get it done before he went to work. Why wouldn't he post it after he finished work? If he had to get it off his chest, yes, okay, that is conclusive. It's, it feels like it's finished, but why wouldn't he post anything else?
Maybe he just wanted to find a way to end it, and he couldn't think of it anyway.
Or like you were hinting at, he's posted this, someone's seen it, who he didn't want to see it.
Well, as he was typing it over his shoulder.
No.
Oh my god, they're going to get me.
It's like the Mary Celeste again with the notes. that they're writing as they're being murdered.
Exactly.
Oh my god, the squid is
Call
chasing
back.
me. The squid is
Call
chasing
back.
me.
There's a man coming towards me. He's holding a knife. Why am I still typing this and not running away?
So yeah, I get that. Like maybe some part of the government, the secret part of the government, has seen this and obviously has been like, all right, we need to sort this guy
He's
out.
been eliminated.
Ah, yes, he's dead now.
He's dead. He's dead. That's why I never replied.
Kill them.
I said, for me, I reckon it's either unreleased samples or it's mashups of songs, maybe that are pre-releases before they were the Beatles, maybe where they were playing in different bands, and it's got the guitar is taken from the guitarist's previous music and sampled in, and it just sounds similar. And because you're told it's the Beatles, you want to hear the Beatles. And
I definitely think it's the Beatles on
I guarantee it's either the Beatles or samples of, because especially that first song, the Band on the Run line, it has been pitch shifted, but that is from an actual Beatles song. That's not a pre-release song. That's not a snippet from unreleased stuff. That's an actual song. I like the idea of it, but the whole point of the sampling thing, he should have done completely brand new stuff that we've not heard before, because if he was able to do that, because if he's had the time to do this sort of thing, surely he has. Because the issue I've got a few issues with this, but the thing I'm thinking of at the moment is, if the parallel universes, obviously they run at the same time, but different discoveries and inventions have happened, like they stopped at tape recorders for some reason. How would artists, in terms of everything, music, art, games, whatever, how would they be able to have the same level of, keep consistency in their creation? Like, how would you be able to guarantee that those four human beings would be able to come together right now? That was actually intended. It fit well, but how would they be able to actually? I mean, again, okay, I think we discussed in the last episode, the statistical probability of stuff like this happening. It could, because it's not impossible.
It could.
And there's an infinite number of universes, allegedly, obviously, not just from this thing, but it could happen, right? But
the thing is, though, the thing about parallel universes is that you can pick any point in time and diverge from that point.
Mm-hmm.
Any single decision that's made, yes versus no, like you can pick a point in history and go at that exact moment, from a big decision to the tiniest of decision, and it's that whole ripple effect, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The reason for it stopping at tapes might be because the person who invented the CD player died and it was never created, or the person who, I don't know, was responsible for turning that particular tape into an album in our world, the producer died. Or do you know what I mean? Like, it depends on which point in the path you diverge from. This might be completely by chance one of the parallel universes, that the people who jump through space looking for safe places, this might also be a safe place. Mm-hmm. And it's not safe because of any other reason other than it just happens to be. It has nothing to do with the tape, and it just chance.
Yeah, I kind of said before that it's probably not one big event which diverts different universes. It's loads of tiny little things.
Yeah.
Like a million different things it could be. And these worlds just kind of work, even though they're doing different things that we are. And just because technology stopped at tapes, their technology in other facets of life could be way more advanced than ours, or exactly the same, or even worse. Like their healthcare could be massively better than ours. And instead of putting effort into improving audio quality and video quality by making CDs, they could have just put it into healthcare instead. And they could all be cyborgs living forever.
Or like he said, instead of putting it into NASA, you put it into parallel universe
Yeah.
exploration.
So yeah,
That's a fair point.
it sounds like I haven't convinced you.
No.
No.
You've not convinced me. I'd
Okay.
love to believe it, but you haven't convinced me, Al.
Sean, you
I'm not
convinced?
convinced,
No.
but the wonder and
The childlike wonder
the
is...
skeptic in me and my love for science fiction and everything, I love it. It's a really, and even just looking at I'm just looking through the website now. It's really simple.
Yeah.
And it literally is as if he's just put it on.
It's
made
to the
it.
point. It does
Like,
its
look,
job.
I want to see this. I wanted to post this. And like the mystery of, hang on, shit, what if he's actually been killed off or taken? How come he's not posted anything
The
else?
conspiracy.
So it's annoying me, actually.
Good.
It really is.
This is
'cause
my-
you look at this.
This is
This
my
is the
goal
point.
in these episodes.
So
To annoy you.
If anyone who's listening, listens to this and gets the chance, just have a look at this website. It's actually,
Yeah.
I don't think you can miss it. Just Google the Beatles never broke up, right? And
Yeah.
the fact that I want to email that email.
I mean,
the
you
Beatles
can.
never broke up at yahoo.com. Yeah, but then what? What if he never replies?
Well, then
I
you'll know
can't
he's
deal
dead.
with that kind of uncertainty.
I need to meet this man.
Exactly.
He's glorious.
Is that the idea?
What, to get him as
Do
the
you
guest for this
email and
next
he's like,
episode?
you won. Congratulations.
Oh, it's actually a Nigerian prince sort of situation.
I need your bank account to confirm that you've been to another universe.
Excellent. Well, I
Yeah,
am going
I'm
to
not
go
convinced,
with I believe this is true, and you can't convince me that it's not. That's my standing.
Okay.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Ramblings of a Madman. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or spread the word. Show your friends, show your mum, show your dog, I guess. Get in touch with us on Twitter at Rome Podcast. That's ROAM Podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.